Hello, welcome back to the channel, you beautiful people. Thank you for clicking the link. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, subscribe, bell, you know the deal. Today's video is all about this 5-stone diamond 18 karat ring with an interesting setting. I hope you enjoy. Let's get on with it. With any project, we start with planning. In this case, I have 5 diamonds laid flat on a piece of material, which I've casted and I've prepared. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get a general size to see how much of this material we're going to cut off. Once I've got the size with a little bit of extra that I need, I anneal it again and I hammer it from the top to create a parallel piece. I guess you could work with it in a parallel or a banana shaped piece as well, but it will make things more difficult.
We're not making fruit, we're making jewelry.
We're not making fruit, we're making jewelry. Yeah. I'll file the edges to have a nice prepared piece of material. And then I use a divider and I mark the center line, and then I also find the middle point. We'll be working from the middle point outwards. I get the diameter of the diamonds, measure it on my vernier, divide it by 2, take the measurement on a compass, press it into the little hole that I've made straight in the center of the actual plate, and I trace the diameter of the diamond. That's the first step. Then I check the diamond to make sure that the diamond sits exactly on top. Once I'm happy with my first circle, which is now in a parallel piece of material which is long enough to house all the stones, I can then take the measurement of the next stones. And so I carry on so that I create round settings with the diamond's diameters touching each other. This is the new concepts plate. I'm using that, and I'm using this this sickle type green line saw, and I'm also using my hand, my eyes and my brain to cut out the plate that we've created. So once you cut it out, as usual, when you're cutting something that has the precise marking, remember we've made these diameters exactly the same size, and we double check that with your vernier onto the stone. Make sure you're really tight on that. Once you're done with the cut work, which is rough, you can then take a small needle file or a file, whatever you want to use, angle grinder if you're really good at that, but wouldn't recommend that. And you use the file and you bring it straight onto the line so that your plate becomes a sort of scalloped area where all the stones lie down, and you cannot see a thing from the top. It's basically 100% the size of the diamonds from the top, and that's exactly what you want to see. We've got the plate coming over the top. Now I'm making a sleeve at the bottom, and there's going to be a little bit of a gap. If you're making the sleeve doesn't have to be as thick as the other one. I should mention, I don't know if I did, but it's a 1.3 millimeters thick at the top, just to create that little bedding. And then there's a bit of a gap, and the gap is about 1 millimeter. And then I have the sleeve that runs over the finger, and I made that one 1 millimeter as well. It's slightly bigger than what I usually would work, but again, I'm working with big stones. I want to make sure that everything is as secure as I possibly can. So once you've made the little plate, if you're looking at the length of the sleeve, you just really need to make it slightly bigger than, we don't have to make a full ring is what I'm saying. You just need to make it slightly bigger on the diameter of the finger size, and then you bring the two together. And all I'm going to do there is I'm going to take a millimeter spacer on the one side, solder it onto the sleeve, connect the top part to the spacer, solder it over there, and then bring in the other spacer on the other side. I'm only putting a spacer in right on the last part of the last 2 stones, because that's where they're going to connect with the shank. And I'm going to have this little stability piece there, so the gap is exactly equal all the way through on both sides. Once I've got the plate soldered onto the sleeve, I can bring in the wires. Now, if you've noticed, what I'm doing here is I'm bringing the wire in from the top, soldering it onto the top sleeve, and then joining it to the sleeve at the bottom. This method is used a lot of times when we're making 3-stone collared rings and that kind of thing. So the sleeve doesn't have the wire running all the way through, but we file the shape of the wire into the sleeve. That's how I thought I'd do it. Later on in the video, I'm going to change that. I need a single wire between each pair of stones. So if I've got 2 stones, I need a wire coming up here, which will hold that stone as well as this stone, and then that wire comes around doing the same on the opposite side. So I've got 2 claws holding 2 stones. It's a very open effect. We're just here to represent the diamonds. Practical things to make diamonds look good. So you've got a shaped top that's been joined to a plain sleeve. So I'm cutting right next to the wire this side and right next to the wire this side, straight down. So essentially I'm leaving that wire some metal to be shaped, And then while I've got these lines cut in, they kind of give away the area where I've got to start filing to create the scallops to mirror the top. This is a blob of 18 karat white gold. It looks just like a blob, and many people have told me if they walk through the streets and find a blob like that, they'll just walk past it. Don't walk past it if you see a blob like this, because it is actually a piece of 18 karat white gold. If you see this particular blob, you can bring it to me or contact us on our webpage and we will buy it from you.
Hang on, let's just be clear. Like, maybe we shouldn't be encouraging people on the street to bring in things that look like gold. Is there anything wrong with that?
We don't know if there's anything wrong with encouraging people to bring us blobs that look like gold. If there is something wrong with that, please let us know in the comment section. I've taken the blob of gold, I'm running through a rolling mill, I'm going to 3.6 millimeters because the upper part of the ring, which we've just now shaped and added wires to, has a certain height. I need to meet that height somehow with the shank. So 3.6 is safe, and that's what we're going to go with. Make a complete ring. I'm taking this complete ring, which I know is exactly P1/2. I take a basic measurement of where the ring's top part will join up with the shank. I'll make a mark over there. I'm using those marks to increase the height slightly by tapering it. I'm using this hammer that actually doesn't belong to me. Who does this hammer belong to?
It's definitely mine. That's a Fritz hammer.
It says D on the side. I've used your hammer to flatten the areas where I know the ring is to join it. Then I'm going to cut the areas off to make sure that we've got a nice joint. Now, I actually just should mention to you as well, at this point, because the ends of the top comes to a rounding, I'm going a little higher, and then I'm filing the rounding into the shank itself, so that the one part comes and seats itself into the other. Before I'm going to solder anything on, I'm going to try and get this ring I've made, which I've not cut, to be as smooth as possible. Now, these steps help, because once you put it together, you know, it's more difficult to get in with a file when something's soldered to it. So it's got open access to it at the moment, and I'm going to file this and clean this shank part up, preparing it essentially before I solder on the top. So I've soldered on the shank, and it fits really nicely. And right on the end where the shank meets the top part of the ring, I can now take that same concept by bending a claw all the way around and bringing that over the shank, so that I can represent the very last two claws on either side that I need to put on. These claws go all the way through. All right, cool. All the claws are on. I've cut the excess off at the bottom from the new ones I just put on. And now I'm using the GRS Benchmade again, so to hold the ring. And what I'm doing now is I'm giving it a slight D shape. And we're not going to go all the way around through. It's just a slight rounding at the top to soften the look of the ring. All right, we're only human. I'm a goldsmith that's got a lot of experience, but I still have these issues every now and then where I go, hang on, I shouldn't have done that. I mean, that was a good idea to start off with, but it's not a good idea right now. I've taken the ring as it was with all the work I put into it, taken it to the setter's desk, only to realize when I put the stones down on top of it, I could come right with what I've got, but at the same time, it really would be nice if these claws were slightly closer. What does that mean?
Integrity.
Integrity. Destroy it all. No, not all. I'm going to remove all the claws again. All that hard work I put into the claws, I'm going to take off, and I'm going to put claws right from the top right down to the bottom, but I'm going to bring these claws in closer so that when the stones come together, they're tighter to the area where the stones almost meet. That just gives me a little bit more security for the stones, and it's not that much of a problem right now. It's kind of sad to go slightly backwards, but hey ho, we learn. I'm putting 4 extra wires on per side, and I'm bringing them slightly closer to where the stones meet. Just makes my life a bit easier. And on top of that, I thought, let me make them 1.12 millimeters rather than 1 millimeter. There's a lot of fun with creating a job all the way from the beginning right to the end. What I mean by that is to set the stones, it's next level happiness in the studio. I've set the stones, I cleaned the ring up, and this is the result. As per usual, thank you very much for clicking on the video. It's always a pleasure to have you guys. I love watching the little likes and the comments. It's just fantastic. Wonderful platform, wonderful community. Thank you very much for your support. Next week's video is about this beautiful diamond platinum bracelet. Clasp repair, repairs on the sides. There's a bit of work to be done on this. Till next week, bye.